Before I start this video, I'd just like to show off something that I got when I saw Fantastic Four First Steps at Disney Springs. And I got this Herbie popcorn bucket. I thought I would just like to show off. So, let's do this and do this. And also it reflects a light. Anyways, just wanted to show that off because I think that's probably neck and neck with the monkey popcorn bucket for my favorite popcorn bucket of the year thus far. Anyways, with that, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy, you man, Stixie Camel, back out with yet another video. And today we are going to be ranking every single Fantastic Four film that has been released, and we will be ranking them from the worst to the best. Which I apologize in advance. I was supposed to do an actual... So for those who did not know, I was supposed to do a review series of all the Fantastic Four movies, building up, of course, to the newest one. But the thing was, the day I was supposed to do my Rise of the Silver Surfer review, I ended up staying at a treehouse villa at Disney Springs for like 3 days at Disney, of course. So, not Disney Springs, but at Disney, one of those treehouse villas. Stayed there 2 nights and didn't really have time to get a full-length review out for either Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer or Fantastic Four from 2015. So I apologize in advance. And originally, Friday was the day I came back from that vacation. So, and I was supposed to do my Fantastic Four First Steps review that day. And I ended up getting sick, which, if you heard me a little bit ago coughing, it's not all 100% gone away. So if I'm coughing a couple times while talking about these movies, I would just like to apologize in advance. And originally as well, I was supposed to do this ranking yesterday, but it unfortunately got pushed back. As well, I was supposed to do a spoiler review of the movie today. Anyways, but before we get into the actual beginning of the review, the ranking itself, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free, number two, also maybe help the YouTube algorithm recommend the video to more people, and maybe they could join. And do feel free to comment your rankings of these Fantastic Four movies down below. With that being said, guys, we're going to, as well, that light is on because this light in front of me is not working for some reason. So I would just like to apologize for that as well. But anyways, as I said before, we are ranking all the Fantastic Four movies. So that would be the 2 Tim Story films, the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, and the movie that didn't get released that came out in 1994. As well as the newest film that this was all building up to. So these are the 5 I'm counting. If there were some other ones, I apologize. But anyways, what ended up coming dead last? Well, to no one's surprise, really. Well, most people have this or another one we're going to talk about after this one.
Last place I ended up going with Ann Forstick from 2015, which somehow I liked when I was younger, and I don't know why.
I mean, this is not only the worst Fantastic Four movie in my opinion, but I think it's actually one of the worst comic book movies of all time. I think this is absolutely terrible, even though I do admit there were some moments that I got a chuckle out of, like, because I couldn't believe the ideas they had in this movie, where Josh Trank has said many times that this was not the movie he was making, and studio interference basically kicked him out of the project. So, but there's so many moments where are laughably bad. That kind of makes it entertaining, but still does not stop it from being an F-tier movie, because, like, the moments I'm specifically talking about is how Ben Grimm comes up with, "It's clobbering time," as his catchphrase. The reason why he says that is because his brother used to beat him and say, it's clobbering time right before it.
Clobbering time. What'd you think?
Like, who wrote that? Like, that is so laughably bad. But aside from that, that's only, like, a watchably bad moment of this entire movie. If I did have one positive thing to say about that is actually intentional, is the body horror-esque element scene that we see where the Fantastic Four first discover their powers. I do like that scene. However, everything else about this movie is terrible. I love all the actors that you have in here. I love Michael B. Jordan. I love Miles Teller. And I love Kate Mara. I wasn't too familiar with the guy that played the Thing, if I'm being honest. So forgive me as well if I haven't seen his best work. But even though all three of them, the actors that I just listed that I have experience with, they do not care in this movie at all, which, to be fair, I don't blame them, because this whole entire thing was an absolute disaster, and I wouldn't blame them for not trying to act in this movie. Easily the best one, probably, out of the three that at least tries to act is Michael B. Jordan giving a different version of Human Torch. However, there's a couple of moments where it just, the characters themselves feel emotionless, which, again, I don't blame them. Also, in the middle part of the movie, they completely skip past the middle act of the film and just go straight to the final act, which is adds for some tonal whiplash in this film for sure. Also, the version of Doctor Doom in here we get is absolutely terrible, and the way to just demolish that character easily, and Stan Lee has said himself, that is one of his favorite villains he's created. And they botched him so bad. The look of the character is absolutely terrible. Even the Victor Von Doom stuff before he becomes Doctor Doom is laughably bad, where he's just this guy that's a gamer before turning into Doctor Doom, which is absolutely silly, which I have no room to talk because I'm a gamer, but I don't turn into a villain. Spoiler alert. So, but it's just, yeah. This could have been so much better, maybe, if Josh Trank was able to make the film he was making out to be. However, no. This is easily down in my top 5 worst comic book movies of all time. Yeah, it's terribly bad. Now, coming in at number 4, ironically,
the unreleased Fantastic Four film from 1994, but you can watch it for free on YouTube, which I obviously did.
It is a little unfair to judge this movie because it never fully came out, but I do think most people were hyping it up to be, oh, it's absolutely crap, with the people that at least I follow on some channels and stuff saying how bad this movie was, and honestly, I didn't think it was that bad. I don't think it's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's absolutely awful, because I didn't hate my time watching it. Where, essentially, this movie came out in 1994, so there was a little nostalgia factor for me rewatching this, because it had that kind of comic booky-esque feel where it felt as if they were just taking characters from a TV series, the characters from the animated TV series, and plopping them into live action. I thought they did pretty decent with that, where it wasn't terribly bad to rewatch. But there's still some pretty bad CGI effects in here that do not age well at all. Doctor Doom, while the costume's great, is absolutely terrible in here too. Not nearly as terrible as Toby Kebbell's version of Doctor Doom, which, don't get me wrong, I love Toby Kebbell as an actor. I mean, Koba from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which he voices, is actually my 3rd favorite fictional character of all time, and my favorite movie character of all time. So, but this one is not necessarily a good Doctor Doom either, because they have scenes where he's talking and you can barely hear what he's saying because of the mask he's wearing, which is absolutely kind of laughably bad. The cast I'm 50-50 on. I think the person that plays Invisible Woman does decent. Same goes for the person that plays Reed Richards. The guy that plays the Thing does good too. However, it kind of let me down with Johnny Storm's portrayal in this film. I didn't think he fit the character at all. I do think there's some characters, some portrayals of Johnny Storm that I think are much better than his is. Yeah, overall it was just okay to me. It was just very meh. I didn't hate watching it, so didn't think it was nearly as bad as people were making it out to be, but still doesn't mean that the movie itself is good though.
Number 3 out of the second Tim Story Fantastic Four movie, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
So I'm gonna kind of talk about this a little bit later on with the other movie we're about to talk about after this. But I never understood the overwhelming amount of hate for these two films. I grew up with them. They came out. So when I was born in 2007, and basically, for those who did not know, I was very obsessed with superheroes. So there were a bunch of movies that were in my constant rewatch ability. Where it was Batman Begins, Superman Returns, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, and these two Fantastic Four movies. I watched those constantly when I was younger as a kid because I was super obsessed with superheroes back then. And of course, I'm still obsessed with them now, but not nearly as much as when I was younger. And I would always constantly rewatch. And unlike a couple other films that I look back on my movie taste as a kid where I go, oh, what did you see in that film, young Lucas? What did you see? These two films I actually get a whole lot of enjoyment out of. I think they're perfectly rewatchable, with Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, originally when I was younger, I do admit this one I didn't rewatch as frequently compared to the other movie I have above it. I still, on rewatch, did like this one, even though I do think it is more flawed compared to the first Tim Story Fantastic Four movie, because simply, I think this is also way too overstuffed with so many different storylines. With Sue and Reed getting married, you also have the arrival of Galactus, which they totally botched his character again, which, thank goodness we got a proper portrayal with Fantastic Four First Steps, which we'll elaborate on later, but turning him into a cloud, such a baffling decision by the studio to do that. Silver Surfer's involvement, I do like. They also add this plot where Johnny is able to switch powers with everybody, which I do think doesn't really fit in some of the storylines in here, so... But I think even more so in this one, the chemistry between the team this time around is much better, since you did get that first film, which the chemistry was already pretty solid. In this one, I think the chemistry is even better, to be honest with you, just because the cast reunites again, where so they're a little more familiar around each other, so... which I know a lot of people like to crap on Jessica Biel's acting as Invisible Woman, but I think in this one specifically, she does actually... I don't think she deserves all the hate she does get as Invisible Woman, because I think she is actually decent in both of these movies, with what she's given. Chris Evans as Human Torch, of course, as well, is easily for me, even though Joseph Quinn might take over this over time, is still my favorite Human Torch we've ever gotten in live action form. Ian Groford, I think that's how you pronounce his name, is good as Reed Richards, and Michael Chiklis as well is great as the Thing. While in this one, he doesn't feel as prominent as he does in the first movie with the story choices they give him. So, but yeah, I do enjoy this one, but not
as much as the first Tim Story film, that of course being Fantastic Four from 2005.
Up until this point, even though I do like Rise of the Silver Surfer, before I saw Fantastic Four First Steps, this was the only film I could outright say out of the Fantastic Four movies is really good, which, again, is not a very popular opinion. But I still think this is out of the early 2000s superhero movies, this is easily one of the best ones. And I never understood all the hate it got. Again, cast is great. I already talked about that loosely earlier. Dr. Doom is in here as well, as easily the best interpretation of Dr. Doom we've gotten so far, which again isn't necessarily a high bar with Toby Gebel's performance in the Dr. Doom that we get in the 1994 version of Fantastic Four, but I still think Julian McMahon does really good in the role. Rest in peace. He just recently passed away not too long ago. And yeah, I just have a constant fun time rewatching this movie. But coming in at number 1...
And yes, I can definitely for sure say it is not recency biased. The best Fantastic Four film is Fantastic Four First Steps.
Even though, as I said before, I thoroughly enjoyed the two Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, this needed to be a real winner. And I did think it was a real winner. I thought this one was the first great Fantastic Four movie we've generally gotten, while still having some tiny issues with it. First off, I do think the CGI is not the greatest, and as well, I do wish there was a tiny bit more action in this movie because it is a little slower paced compared to the other MCU movies. But however, I still thought it was great. I loved the new cast that you had in here, which I expected to love when they first announced this cast, which I was actually one of those people that actually was really excited when Pedro Pascal got cast as Reed Richards, because Pedro Pascal actually is kind of one of my favorite working actors today. Same with Joseph Quinn. So when those two got announced as Johnny Storm and Reed Richards, I was going, yeah, okay. I like those casting choices, even though most of the people did not, and seems like they proved everyone wrong, which is a good thing. Vanessa Kirby as well, I was expecting to be great as Invisible Woman, and yes, she was. I think she's easily the best version of Invisible Woman we've ever gotten. Galactus, they finally do justice in this movie, where he's not a freaking cloud like he is in Rise of the Silver Surfer, which, even though I like that movie, I will never get why they decided to go that route. But in here, he's actually in full large form, and he's very terrifying throughout, especially with the guy that I don't know the actor's name, so I apologize. But the guy that does the voice for him, very threatening with that voice. Julie Gardner as Shia LaBeouf, Silver Surfer, I do as well like, and I would like to see her pop up more in Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars or any of the MCU movies down the line, because I think she was generally solid, and I would like to see her interact with Norrin Radd's version of Silver Surfer. I think that would add for an interesting dynamic with two Silver Surfers at the same time if they were to ever do that. The world building as well was fantastic. No pun intended. I did not mean to do that on purpose, I swear. Oh dear. No.
Say that again?
I was really... Don't ever say that word again. Please. I was very immersed in the world that they created here with their Earth, where it was certainly interesting to explore, and I would like to see their world further explored a little bit more with some sequels, perhaps. And yeah, what can I say? This lived up to the hype as one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it certainly did deliver, and I think it's easily the best Fantastic Four film we've ever gotten, even though that was a high bar in the first place. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just my ranking of all the Fantastic Four films. Be sure to leave your list down below. With that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace out.